The Plum in the Golden Vase. Chongzhen version of the Embroidered Portrait. Chapter 85. Wu Yunyang discovers the adultery and Sister Chen Mai does not shed tears of farewell. The poem says, "Love is like a chain that is always confusing and attracts strangeness from others for no reason. Good things often come and go, and it's hard to endure. Who can take advantage of the cold shoulder? The whole day is full of frowns and frowning, and the whole place is boring. I hope that the bright moon in the 5 lakes will be there, Quanning Nai, and the Mandarin duck debt will eventually be repaid." It is said that Yunyang took the road to her home, so there is no question. Shan Piao Jin Lian was at home, and she and Chen Jingji were like chickens chasing eggs stuck together. One day, Jin Lian had drooping eyebrows and wide waist. She was sleepy all day long and was too lazy to eat and drink. Jingji came to the room and said, "I have something to tell you. I haven't been able to open my eyelids for the past 2 days, and my waist is too lazy to open. The limbs are getting bigger. The belly is pounding. I am afraid of food, and I feel very sleepy. While your father was here, I asked Aunt Sufu Yaoyi to have a baby, but he was nowhere to be seen today. No, I have been pregnant with you for a long time. I have been washing my body for 3 months, and now I am 6 months pregnant. I usually have trouble with others, but today it is my turn. Don't wait in your sleep to ask for the medicine for the miscarriage at your aunt's future home. Otherwise, if you create a monster, I will just look for impermanence and never look up to see anyone again." After hearing this, Jingji said, "We have all kinds of medicines in our shop, but I don't know how many kinds of medicines can be used to treat miscarriage. Don't worry about it. Dr. Hu from the main street has big and small square veins. He is a good doctor in the Department of Gynecology. He often comes to our house for medical treatment. I asked him where he could redeem me for having a baby." The woman said, "Good brother, hurry up and save the slave's life." Chen Jingji paid 3 coins and went straight to Dr. Hu's house. Dr. Hu was at home, and when he came out to meet him, he recognized Jingji as the son-in-law of a high-ranking official from Ximen. He asked him to sit down and said, "I've always been a stranger to each other, so I asked what I can tell you when I come here." Jingji said, "There is nothing wrong with him." He took out 3 platinum stars from his sleeve and said, "As a gift of medicine, I dare to ask for 1 or 2 good medicines for pregnancy, which shows your kindness." Dr. Hu said, "Between heaven and earth, a good life is a virtue. 9 out of 10 people just want to have a fetus. Why do you want to have an abortion?" No. Seeing his constraints, Jingji added another $2 of medicine and said, "Don't worry about it. This woman's life is not going well for her. I'd like to have a baby." Dr. Hu took the money and said, "It doesn't matter. I'll eat it with you. If you walk 5 miles, the baby will fall off." So he took 2 pieces and gave them to him. After Jingji got the medicine, he wrote a speech to the imperial physician Hu and delivered it to the woman at home. When the woman was late at night, she ate the decoction and suddenly felt a pain in her stomach. She slept on the king and taught Chen Mai to press her belly and just rub it. But suddenly something went wrong, and he sat down in a bucket and knocked the child down. Just saying that it was coming on her body, Q Ju stirred up the straw paper and poured it into the hair. The next day, the man who dug out the hole picked out a fat and white child. As the saying goes, good things never go out, but evil things spread thousands of miles. Within a few days, everyone in the family knew that Jin Lian had adopted a son-in-law and had stolen an illegitimate child. Let's talk about Wu Yunyang coming home one day. We went back half a month, and it was October when we arrived. After everyone in the family came to pay their respects, they told the sisters in Yulu what happened in Daiyu Temple from the beginning, and they burst into tears. The whole family came to visit. Yunyang saw her breasts carrying brother Xiao to her side, and mother and son met together. Burn the paper and put the wine in charge until Uncle Wu comes home. In the evening, all the sisters and Yunyang met each other. On the second day, Yunyang was tired and frightened due to the wind and frost on the road. She felt sore and sleepy and could not recover for 2 or 3 days. Na Qiuju was at home, hearing about what Jin Lian and Jingji had done, and wanted to tell Yunyang. When he walked to the door of the upper room, Xiao Yu scolded him in the face again, and hit him in the face with a big-eared scraper. He scolded him, "You gossiping slave, leave me as soon as possible. My grandma came home from a long way and is not happy. He hasn't gotten up yet. It's worth a lot of money to make him angry. Kyuju swallowed her anger and retreated. One day, when something happened, Jingji came in to look for clothes. The woman and he were playing with the flowers upstairs, and the two of them were doing well. Kyuju walked to the back and called Yunyang to see her and said, "This slave has repeatedly told the aunt that she doesn't believe it. My mother is not here." So the two of them slept at home until dawn, and slept until dawn, and stole the illegitimate child. With Chunmei and Mei are in a fight. The two of them are doing bad things upstairs again. I'm not lying. Mother, please look over quickly. Yunyang hurriedly walked to the front. They were doing a good job and hadn't come downstairs yet. Chunmei was in the room when she suddenly saw her. She quickly went upstairs and said, "Oh no, the aunt is here." The two of them were so busy that they had nowhere to hide. Jingji had no choice but to take his clothes and go downstairs to go out. Yunyang saw him and yelled at her, saying, "Young kid, you don't have a memory. Why did you get in trouble if you didn't come in quickly?" Jingji said, "There are people waiting in the shop." "No one? I'm looking for clothes." Yunyang said, "I paid you the same amount to teach the boy to come in and get it. Why do you come into the widow's room again? It's shameless." After a few words, Jingji went out and gave up his life. No life. The woman was so embarrassed that she didn't dare to come down for a long time. Then when she came down, Yunyang tried her best to talk to her, and said, "Sixth sister, don't be so shameless from now on. You and I are widows now, and we can't compare to having a man. And the fragrance is at home. Bottles and jars have ears. And there are, it doesn't matter what you have to do with this guy. The slaves are talking about it behind their backs. As the saying goes, men are sexless and have no strength. Women are sexless and rotten like sesame seeds. He is not upright, even if he is ordered to do so. If you are handsome and upright, are you willing to teach me how to do it? Fight for the men, like me go into incense and being forced by a strong man. If he is not upright, he will not be able to come home." Jinlin Chiyunang said. Her face turned red and white in shame, and she said that there were not 1,000, only said, "I am burning incense upstairs. Brother Chen is looking for clothes over there. Who can talk to him?" Ryu Niang was confused for a while and returned to the back. In the evening, Sister Ximen scolded Jingji again in the room. "You're a thief. How dare you say that I haven't really stolen anything and the real criminals can catch you? You're so talkative. What are the two of you doing upstairs today? Say no, damn it. They were so mean. They just locked me under the tank. The slut wanted my man, and she tied him up with words in front of me. The hair was so smelly and hard. It's like subjugating that one." He leaned against the south wall. "Lao Lai has decided that you still want to eat here," Jingji scolded. "Whore, your family accepts my money, and I am yours. Want to eat?" He moved forward. From then on, Jingji only stayed in the front, and did not dare to go to the back if nothing happened. Taking the east and west, Dan and Ping'an took it upstairs. The daily meals were not brought out at noon, so Mr. Fu was so hungry that he only had money to eat hot noodles on the street. It is the dragon fighting against the tiger that hurts the little deer. Doors everywhere were closed in half a day. As a result, the friendship with Jin Lian was interrupted again. His maternal uncle Zhang Tuanlian has always been the caretaker of Chen Jai's house in Jingji. Zhang Tuanliangren stayed at home and Jingji went there to eat in the morning and evening. Yunyang didn't ask any questions. The two separated and were not allowed to see each other for about a month. The woman was alone there. The day was like autumn and the night was like midsummer. How could she keep the empty room silent? She was burning with desire. It was extremely difficult to meet him. There was no communication between them twice, so Jingji had no way to get in. Suddenly one day I saw sister-in-law Zhu knocking on the door and passing by, and she wanted to ask him to send a piece of paper with a golden lotus to express her heartfelt feelings. One day, he opened the door to ask for a debt, rode to Zhu's wife's house, tied the donkey, lifted the curtain and asked, "Mother Zhu is at home." His son Zhuji's daughter-in-law, Sister Jin, was holding the child on the king, accompanying her. The two maids who were being sold heard someone calling Ma Zhu, so they came out and asked, "Who is it?" Jingji said, "It's me." He asked, "Is Ma Zhu at home?" Sister Jin said, "Uncle, please come and sit down. My mother went to exchange some money for me." If she had something to say, she asked someone to come over. She quickly ordered some tea and some food. After sitting there for a short time, I saw sister-in-law Zhu coming. She wished Jingji a blessing and said, "Uncle, that gust of wind is blowing to my house." He called Sister Jin and said, "Pour some tea with your uncle." Sister Jin said, "I just ate it. It's time for tea." Jingji said, "I don't have anything to do. I've been hooking up with my fifth wife for a long time, and now Qiuju's tongue has broken up my marriage. Sixth sister and I cannot be separated. We have been apart for a long time and have not heard from each other. I want to send him some numbers. No one can get the inside information. I need to tell you." I took out a tael of silver from my sleeve. He came and said, "These are small gifts, so I can buy tea with Zhu's mother." When Mrs. Zhu heard what he said, she clapped her hands and laughed, and said, "Whose son-in-law plays tricks on his mother-in-law? There is no such thing in the world." "Uncle, you are right." I asked, "How did you get it?" Jingji said, "Sister-in-law Zhu, please be silent and don't make fun of me. I have this card sealed here, so I can send it to him tomorrow." Sister-in-law Zhu took it and said, "Your aunt has come back from offering incense. I haven't seen him go yet. Let's go for a walk together." Jingji said, "Where should I ask for your letter?" Sister-in-law Zhu said, "I'll look for you in the shop to answer your question." After that, Jingji came home. The next day, Zhu Sao carried the flower box and went to Simon King's upper room to see Yu Nang. After sitting for a while, she went to Meng Yulu's room and then came to Jinlian. Jinlian was setting the table to eat porridge. Seeing that the woman was unhappy, Chun Mai said, "Mother, you should stop worrying. Let others say what is right and wrong. Now that father is gone, and Anne can't raise a child, could it be that she is of unknown origin? It is difficult for him to control the secrets between you and me. Relax your mind. Even if the sky collapses, there will still be men to hold it up. Life is long, so just enjoy it every day." Then she poured some wine, handed a cup to the woman and said, "Mother, have a cup of warm wine to relieve your sorrow." Seeing the dogs cuddling together at the steps, she said, "Animals can have such happiness. How much more can humans do the same?" While they were drinking, Mrs. Zhu came and greeted Jinlian, bowed to Chun Mai, and said with a smile, "You and your mother are enjoying it." Seeing the two dogs cuddling together, she smiled and said, "Your family is so auspicious. How can your mother not be bored every time you see them?" The woman said, "The wind blew you here today. Why didn't you come for a walk?" At the same time, she asked Mrs. Zhu to sit down. Mrs. Zhu said, "I don't know what I do all day, but I'm busy." The eldest lady burned incense on her head, but she didn't even look at him. She didn't blame me just now. The third lady in the west room was also there. She left me 2 pairs of green flowers and a pair of big green hairpins. She was very generous and weighed out 8 cents of silver for me. But Miss Sue asked me for 2 pairs of thread flowers in August. She should have given me 2 cents of silver, but she didn't give it to me. What a stingy person. I tell you. Why haven't I seen you? The woman said, "I have been feeling a little unwell these 2 days and haven't gone out." Chun Mai poured a cup of wine and handed it to Mrs. Zhu. Mrs. Zhu bowed again and said, "I'll have some wine as soon as I get home." The woman said, "Raise a good baby tomorrow." Mrs. Zhu said, "I can't. My son and his wife, Sister Jin, have a new baby who is only 2 months old." She said, "You old man, you've lost your father and you've been so lonely all day." The woman said, "It's hard to say. It's better to have him around. Now we're in a lot of trouble. To be honest with old Zhu, there are so many people in my family and so many gossipers. Since his aunt got after having this child, her heart has changed. We are not as close as we used to be. I have been feeling uncomfortable these past 2 days, and I haven't been there because of all the gossip." Chun Mai said, "It's all because of Qiuju, the servant in my room. When the madam was not around, she made up a story about my mother and dragged me into it. It's really confusing." Zhu Sao said, "Is it the eldest sister in the room? How could she play tricks on her master? Since ancient times, people have worn green clothes and held black pillars. This is not acceptable." The woman asked Chun Mai, "Look at this. I'm afraid that servant will come and listen again." Chun Mai said, "He is picking rice in the kitchen. This poor servant is a ditch in this room, and he only cares about what is going on in the room and talks about it outside. Chu Sao said, "There is no one here, so we are not talking. Yesterday, brother-in-law Chen came to me and told me that it was him who offended you." Brother-in-law Chen said that his aunt scolded him, and all the doors were closed, and he was not allowed to come in to get clothes or medicine. Moved the eldest sister to live in the East Wing. Every day at noon, I don't take food out for him. When he's hungry, he goes to his maternal uncle Zhang's place to eat. A son-in-law doesn't ask him to help, but asks the servant instead. Is that right? He hasn't seen you for a long time, so he begs me to send him a letter to pay respects to you. Don't worry too much. Your father is gone, so just relax and do something big. What's there to be afraid of? Lighting an incense may cause smoke, but setting a fire is fine. So he took out the letter from Jingji and handed it to the woman. She opened it and read it. There was nothing else to say. On it was a poem from Red Embroidered Shoes. The fire in the temple burned the skin and flesh. The water in the blue bridge flooded the throat, and the sound of the wind filled the southern state. Washed clean is still stained, and achieved is romantic, but not so much. Jingji bows 100 times at the six sisters' macup after reading it. The woman put it into her sleeve. Zhu's wife said, "Tell him to write a note to him, or write a few words to him, so that he can believe that the gift I sent has a whereabouts." The woman asked Chen Mai to accompany Zhu's wife to drink. He went into the inner room and took out a white silk handkerchief and a gold ring. He wrote a poem on the handkerchief, expressing his longing for her. After writing and sealing it, he came out and handed it to Zhu's wife, and said, "Tell him not to be angry and go to his mother's Uncle Zhang's house for dinner, which will make his Uncle Zhang angry. He said that you do business at your father-in-law's house, but come to my house for dinner. It seems that we both have no life, which will make his Uncle Zhang angry. If there is no food, tell him to buy some snacks from the shop and eat with the waiters. If you are angry, don't come in. Who are you angry with? It's like a thief who is afraid of losing his courage." Zhu's wife said, "Wait for me to tell him." The woman gave Zhu's wife another 5 cents of silver. After saying goodbye, he went out and came to the shop in front to find Jingji. The two walked to a quiet place to talk, and handed him the sealed things. Wu Niang said, "I told you not to be so angry. I told you to come in and walk around often, and not to go to your Uncle Zhang's house for dinner, which would make people feel weird." Then he took out 5 coins of silver and showed it to him. "This is what I gave to me from inside. I can't hide anything. After a long time, won't you to be worried about each other? Tell me, where will I put my face?" Jingji said, "Old Zhu has troubled you a lot." He bowed to him deeply. Mrs. Zhu walked the steps and came back and said, "I almost forgot one thing. Just now when I came out, the eldest lady asked the maid Xu Chen to call me in and asked me to take Chen Mai in the evening to sell her. She said that he was the matchmaker between you and his mother to raise a man." Jingji said, "Mrs. Zhu, you stay at home. I will come to your house to see him another day and ask him something." After Mrs. Zhu finished speaking, she went home. As expected, when the moon rose in the evening, she came to take Chen Mai. When they arrived at Yu Niang's room, Yu Niang said, "You bought her with 16 taels of silver. You just need to bring 16 taels of silver now." She told Xiao Yu, "Watch her go to the front and pack up. Tell her to leave with nothing but clothes." Then Sister Zhu came to the front and said to the woman, "His aunt asked me to bring Sister Chen Mai here. She told me that she and you cheated together and secretly kept a man. She didn't care about the length and only asked me for the original price." When the woman heard that Chen Mai was brought in, she opened her eyes and couldn't speak for a long time. She burst into tears and cried, "Sister Zhu, you see how miserable my mother and I are without a man. How long has he died today? She sent away my people. His aunt is so heartless and righteous. She relied on the fact that she kept a woman by her side and buried her in the mud, leaving her as child is only a week old. He is dead, and the smallpox hasn't come out yet. He knows what the sky is plotting, and his heart is so high that it covers the sun." Zhu's wife said, "Sister Chen Mai said that my father had taken him in when he was alive." The woman said, "The word taken in. The dead ghost treats him like his heart and lungs. He says one thing, listens to 10 things, and obeys 10 things. The wife who is properly married and established should be beaten later. He wanted to beat the boy with 10 sticks, but his father didn't dare to beat him with 5 sticks. Zhu's wife said, "He comes again. Auntie, Dad took in such an outstanding girl, but sent her away without a box or cage, and didn't allow her to take a piece of clothing. He just let her go out naked," which made the neighbors embarrassed. The woman said, "Did he tell you not to take clothes out?" Zhu's wife said, "And he told Sister Xiaoyu to come. Let him watch and don't let him take clothes out." Chen Mai was beside him, and when she heard that he was sent away, she didn't cry at all. Seeing the woman crying, she said, "Why are you crying, mother? I'm leaving. You'd better be patient and don't worry too much. You'll get sick from worrying, and no one will know you're in pain. Wait until I leave, and you don't have to give me clothes." Since ancient times, a good man does not eat the meals he shares with his wife, and a good woman does not wear the clothes she wears on her wedding day. As she was speaking, Xiaoyu came in and said, "Fifth mother, you believe my grandma. You're all confused. The eldest sister has supported you, and you can keep it a secret from the superiors, but not from the subordinates. Take out his box, pick out 2 sets of colorful bags for him, and ask Sister Zhu to take them away for him. It's a pity that he can be reincarnated." The woman said, "Good sister, you are kind and righteous." Xiaoyu said, "Look, who can guarantee that there will be no trouble forever? Toads and crickets are all people living on the same soil. When a rabbit dies, the fox mourns, and all things feel sorry for their own kind." She took out Chen Mei's box and told him to take the handkerchief and green hairpin that she was wearing. The woman picked up 2 sets of colorful silk clothes and shoes, packed them into a big bag, and gave him a few hairpins, combs, pendants and rings. Xiaoyu also took off 2 hairpins from her head and handed them to Chen Mai. The rest of the pearl tassels, silver silk cloud buns, and skirts and jackets with gold decorations were not touched, and they were all carried to the back. Chen Mai immediately said goodbye to the woman and Xiaoyu, and left with tears. Before leaving, the woman asked him to say goodbye to Yunaying and everyone else, but Xiaoyu shook her hand. Chen Mai followed Zhu Sao without looking back, broke up with her, and went out the door. Xiaoyu and the woman saw him out of the door and came back. Xiaoyu went to the upper room to tell her mother, saying she left with nothing, and left all her clothes behind, not with him. Jinlian returned to her room. Usually, Chen Mai was there, and the mother and daughter were affectionate and talked to each other. Today, he left, leaving the room cold and lonely, and she burst into tears. There is a poem as evidence. The words in my ears are still ringing, but now our love is gone. The person in the room is gone, and I am speechless and heartbroken.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.